Yeah, that goes alright. There is the scavenge pump, but as I will show you now, it's noisy as anything. It's not even a good noise, it's an annoying noise. Yeah, you know, it's crazy frog in your ear all the time. So let's get a decibel meter, just a basic one on my phone will be fine, and let's see how loud that really is. So that shows anywhere from 35 to about 50 when I'm not talking. Yeah, with no noise outside, 30-35. When I'm, you know, when there's stuff going on outside, noise and whatever, because this is an industrial estate, goes up to about 50 decibels. That's pretty quiet. You know, 30 is like a bloody library. 50 is like a typical sort of quiet conversation. Let's see what it's like with the pump on. Right, ready? Pretty consistently 75 decibels. So bearing in mind they say, what is it, every 3 decibels technically is double the volume, and it's doubled the actual decibels, never mind 3 decibels. That's a hell of a lot. So can we get that down to a more sensible level? I mean, to be honest, the real answer will be what it sounds like to our ears, but the readings don't lie, so it's nice to prove it on ear. So let's go and get some of that Dynamat stuff and see what we can do. The pump's not in the most convenient spot to stick shit to, but I really can't be bothered removing pipes just to do this, so I'm going to measure it and cut it off as is. So about 5 inches and 3 inches round, and then I'll worry about the layers after. These things are like self-adhesive, so hopefully will adhere perfectly well. Well, let's see what the noise situation is now. Right, pump on. Let's see what happens. In all honesty, not very much. Maybe a tiny bit, but not much. Let's add a second layer. Again, the dB reading kind of suggests it hasn't made much or any difference, but the noise is far less high pitched, so it's less annoying. Quieter? Not really, no. I think the noise is still, even though it's got rubber feet on it, it's still vibrating through the body of the car. It needs layers maybe between the actual mount and the frame of the car, because when I had my hand on it then, you could feel vibration. The best thing I can do would be unbolt it and obviously put layers between, but I don't care about it that much. I'm only doing this because people give me ideas from commenting and saying how bad it is. Because the thing is, it's awful with the engine off. At idle is loud, but once you're moving, the noise of the turbo spooling and the exhaust drowns that out, so doesn't bother me as much as it could. Well, as with everything I do, this has escalated pretty quickly. From originally saying on the last clip, oh, this is fine, I'll just live with it, I've took it all apart, totally. But it's for decent reason, because, well, not because I care too much about the noise, but I had a slight leak from the pre-pump oil return pipe. It was very tiny, only from a fitting that I'd made. And what it wasn't leaking with the engine running and the pump running, but while the car was sort of left overnight, you'd come back and there'd be a little puddle where it had slowly dripped while just sitting there, you know, the residual oil in the pipes. So while it's not a big deal, it's a bit annoying. So I was going to take it apart for that regardless, and while I'm at it, let's do this properly. When I say properly, well, probably the main useful thing, because I was originally just going to add a bit more wrap and whatever, but Thomas gave me these exhaust bobbins he had lying around. They're like, I think, mini exhausts, like old mini, real mini, not BMW mini, were often held on with things like this. And obviously it's pure rubber in the middle with two fittings. So I'm going to sit that on these, and in all honesty, I think that alone would make a huge difference. But I'm also going to wrap the bits I couldn't reach on that without it being fitted, and I'll do one either side on the mount as well. Realistically, I can't do any more than that without doing crazy shit, and I don't want to do more than that. It's not that big a deal, but if this makes a fantastic difference, and I think it will, then it's well worth the well, pennies it's going to cost. What are these bobbins worth? I've bought them before, I can't remember, but they are literally like 50p or something. And the very minor amount of wrap I'm using is nothing. So let's do it. Right then, moment of truth. It's all wrapped. This is going to be the usual 35-40 decibels when I shut up. Is it going to be any quieter than the 80 odd it has been every other time?
It's definitely quieter now.
Oh yeah, it's definitely...
It just sounds like a loud fuel pump, to be honest, from outside. First, even from outside it was annoying. Now it doesn't annoy at all.
That's not annoying, that's just a typical fuel pump noise.
I say this is acceptable.
Yeah, great success.
Before it was like, the fuck is that? Something's broken.
Yeah, because you could hear that like from a fair distance away with the engine running.
I'm gonna turn on the Volkswagen one.
Oh yeah, you've got one in there.
Oh, it's wired, so listen to this.
Okay. We'll have a sound off between pumps. Yours is a more annoying noise. Yeah. Mine, this one, is quieter even when I'm next to it than that sounds over there.
Exactly. Big difference.
That noise gets in your ears. No. Okay then, there's your answer. Them little bobbins and a bit of Dynamat type stuff, or Fat Mat as this was called. But yeah, there you go. The camper is ready to have its first test drive. Noisy scavenge pump, but the exhaust and engine is so loud you can't hear it once it's running. Good old 190. Yeah, that goes alright. Yeah, that works. You don't often see an old camper van fucking get sideways under power, do you? But that just did then.
That was third there.
It's our third gear.
Dry tarmac and wheel spin. Oh shit. It's a bit aggressive because obviously it's mopping.
Yeah.
So the power comes like loose and it's like odd.
Yeah.
So you have to get the variable vane working properly and fuel.
Does it seem to spool all right now? It's
a bit high, I would say. Obviously we got everything is all, there's no map, nothing, so you can adjust that pretty much better.
Yeah.
When it comes on, it's like, well, yeah.
It looked like it fucking moved.
But it definitely needs, obviously definitely needs a map. But, there you go. But feels stable.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that was pretty rough. It's not nice and smooth.
No.
Even wheel spin and all that stuff, but still feels, I mean, in comparison to before, it's like day and night.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, it's got modern suspension on the back now, so I think if you'd have, if it had done a third gear fucking power skid like that with the old torsion bar suspension, it probably fell over.
No anti-roll bar, nothing. This is good. Anti-roll bar now, proper suspension, proper brakes. It's wider on the back. So yeah, it's good.
A sports car.
Tomorrow I'm gonna just adjust this, the gear linkage and all that stuff. A couple of zip tires because it's a race car.
Of course.
And I'm going for Matlin.
Good times.
So next step, weld the diff.
Yeah.
Increase the lock.
Yeah. Yeah. Wise fab.
Wise fab.
And a supercharged LS and a winter's diff, and then we're done. Yeah.
Jokes apart, this in the wet is you can.
Mate, if that was in the dry.
That, exactly.
Yeah.
Again, it's no map. No map would make a huge difference because obviously the boost and everything will come on smoother. You build the power sooner, so the power curve is going to be much better. So you're going to train way more power than it is now, obviously. This is one of them, like you done yesterday.
Yeah.
So I just gone around, just see if it works, all this stuff, and you get carried away.
Yeah.
Because, hey, you've been working on it for months now. This is the second time with them.
That's the thing. You can feel when things start getting promising. So it's like you've got to.
Yeah. If it's fair safe, it's okay. I mean, well, we didn't have any brakes at the beginning. Didn't feel safe, but. You know,
as long as you got
major issue, having brakes.
As long as you got steering, you don't need brakes.
Yeah, kind of. That's a kind of a steering because it's like driving a boat.
Yeah.
Because it has no power steering, so obviously you don't have a 2.5. You got 15 tunes on one side.
Literally like a fucking 17th century galleon.
Yeah, it is.
Right, I fixed the oil leak from the oil return line earlier, and now it's turn off the cam covers. The main cam covers don't leak, which is good because, well, they're known to leak. But these cam covers are in two parts, and the second part unbolts from the top on both sides. And I kind of thought this before I even started the car, that I didn't seal them up. Like the bottom cam cover's got like a rubber gasket, and I even added a bit of sealant as well because they're known to leak. The top one is only meant to have sealant, and there's no gasket. And like a Wally, I put it on with nothing because I'd only trial fitted it and then forgot. So this one was leaking, you can see it here, and running down the back and ending up there, and a little bit there as well, and a little bit there, but it's nothing major, but it was leaking. You can also see on this where I modified it for more flow. I wasn't that happy how it all was, so I enlarged this port a little bit and put slightly bigger slots for the oil flow to go where it needed to, because I wasn't really happy with how it was. I did this years ago. Like I put a link to the original video. It is 2 years ago or something I did that. I did it on the driveway at my mum and dad's house, weirdly, because I didn't have room at my house and I didn't have the workshop. You know, nothing to use, so I did it there. So I'll send you a link to that where I detail exactly what I've done and this before and afters. And much the same on this side. This is where it was leaking on this side, and that's where the oil, that's the filler cap goes there. Sealant all in. Pretty neat, to be fair. Quite easy. Thankfully there's grooves, so you can just follow the grooves. Hopefully, well, I'm pretty confident this should be the end of the issues there. Top halves of the cam covers reinstalled and hopefully sealed up. Breather pipes back on. So, in theory at least, that's the only leaks fixed on this car. And considering it was a whole new setup where I had pretty much everything that likes to leak off, transmission, cooler pipes, every bloody fuel line, loads of coolant lines, the intake manifold, the cam covers, made a whole new exhaust from the manifold back, and you know how ridiculous this exhaust is. I'm quite amazed this is the only leaks. Fairly proud of myself, to be fair, but I really didn't expect to have this little hassle. You know what the next thing I'm going to do is? I've not even mentioned this in the video, but it's the regulators. As I mentioned in earlier videos, these cars have got a returnless fuel system as standard, so a regulator is actually in the fuel filter at the back on these standard engines. But returnless is a pain in the ass, especially with boost, really. So I did exactly what we did on the E55 and what Kleemann did on the supercharged conversions they did, and that's as well as fitting a regulator. I think Kleemann probably used the standard one and left it returnless, I can't remember, but the most important factor they did do is add what most people call an FMU, which is, if you look at Vortec FMU, it was kind of a thing that got popular originally from Vortec superchargers in the USA. As an easy way of getting the extra fuel needed, they've added one of these, which is a regulator that goes behind the normal regulator, like after it, and it multiplies the fuel pressure with boost. So whereas this, any normal regulator will go up 1 psi fuel pressure with 1 psi boost pressure, so that's 1-to-1, whereas these FMUs, they varied, you know, what they are. Sometimes they were as low as 2-to-1. I think the highest I remember seeing is like 12-to-1, so for every 1 psi boost it added 12 psi fuel pressure. This one is an eBay copy. They're not exactly easy to come by full stop anymore, but this is an eBay Chinese whatever copy. I don't even remember the ratio this is meant to be. 4-to-1, 8-to-1, I don't even remember. You know, it's whatever. But it don't work. It's not like it doesn't work, like it doesn't multiply it. It works like it gives unlimited fuel pressure. It doesn't open. When we was first pissing about of it before we started the car, we realised with this plugged in, I was seeing like 10 bar plus fuel pressure, you know, without the engine running, and that is not correct, because these things aren't adjustable for your base pressure. These are irrelevant for your base pressure. They go up with boost and nothing else. You set your base pressure on that, and the added comes from that, and no matter how low we set that, the fuel pressure was, you know, even with the screw pretty much out, the fuel pressure was like 10 bar plus. It was ridiculous. So we bypass this for now. So when you saw it running on the previous video, it was just running with a 1-to-1 regulator, that one. So yeah, which is why it was running lean so fast, because this normally helps that situation. I realised SPA Turbo who are the Brazilian company who make a lot of turbo parts. Honestly, they're probably the most underrated turbo parts company on the planet. Their stuff is cheap as fuck compared to what we're used to, and the quality is brilliant. Like, no joke. They're, you know, and they do real cool stuff like twin scroll cast manifolds. So proper twin scroll stuff for like 180s. They do a twin scroll top mount and a twin scroll bottom mount. You know, the Volkswagen Audi 180s. And they're cast, so they got all the advantages of twin scroll, but they're not like some stainless thing that A, costs a fortune, and B, cracks in like 10 minutes because it might cost a fortune, but it's been welded by some blind monkey. And more to the point, they make something I've never seen before, which is a built-in version of an FMU and one of these. So it's got adjustable base pressure, but it's also got adjustable rise and rate. So it can be set to 1:1, or it can be set to, I can't remember how high. I only spotted it the other day while randomly browsing online. You know, to much higher. So basically it fucks off having two and just has one, and one it works. So I've got two options. It's just buy one of them and be done with it, or try and fix this one. If I can't fix this one, it's buying one of them and being done with it. I remember on the E55 we had trouble with these. As far as I remember on the E55, the only problem was it leaked. This don't leak, but it don't fucking move either. So I'm going to take this off, take it apart, and see if I can work out what, if anything, is wrong. I don't like spending money, but the SPA ones are quite cheap. I think they're only 120, 130 quid. They're, you know, not much money at all. So yeah, let's get this fucker off and see what's wrong with it. Well, see if we can tell what's wrong with it. Right, this FMU is off, so let's see how it works. The other side of the alu plate is a diaphragm. Underneath the diaphragm is a washer. Underneath the washer is that, which I'm guessing, well, I'm certain, gets pushed down to increase the pressure. Still yet to look up how it works, but I've worked out a bit more about taking it apart. That metal bit just pulled out. This bit, funnily enough, even though it doesn't look it, I was thinking how are you meant to get those Allen key bolts out? Again, there's a little notch there, and it's just push fit out. And then 4 more Allen keys. So that takes the lid off, and then another diaphragm with a rubber O-ring, and that's it. I mean, yeah. So I see what's happening now, I think. Right then, now I know a bit more. Still doesn't help me too much, but the inlet and outlet just there, look. So fuel comes in, out there, into there. And what this does, the little diaphragm, whichever way around it goes, I think it's this first, isn't it? Yeah, whatever. It's basically, it pushes down. The more it pushes down on that, the more it keeps the fuel pressure from lifting it to obviously increase the pressure. How the hell they work out, you know, 8:1, 6:1, whatever to 1 with this is beyond me, but whatever. That is how that works. So that means this metal thing was obviously meant to slide up and down in this bore, and I can only presume, yeah, and like this pushes it down onto that to prevent it popping up. It does that with the boost pressure working on the top. I can only presume this, because it was non-stainless shite, and you can see it's a bit rusty, it was jammed, so there was no way the fuel pressure was lifting it to make it work. It was just jammed. That's all there is to it. I'm kind of surprised that it could be jammed enough that 10 bar of fuel pressure can't lift it away from its seat, because 10 bars are a whole lot of pressure. But that makes sense. That's the only viable thing. I mean, I've still not read instructions, but it's kind of obvious how this works now. Clean this up to a super sparkly smooth finish, and also in there make it as good as I can, and just generally do a bit like you do when you buy these Chinese wastegates. Clean up the bad build quality and what's essentially a perfectly good design, because this is just a rip-off of the Vortec one, straight up exact copy, just made in China in a sweatshop by a 5-year-old boy or whatever. So yeah, I think that my solution, if you can call it that, is going to be clean this up, clean that up, make sure it smoothly goes up and down in the bore. It doesn't really at the moment, it's quite rough, you can hear it. Lube it up as well. That's better, just with my finger. So still super tight tolerances, but even without any grease it moves up and down. Problem was the machining in there, even after the rust removal, was just a bit shit. You know, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like terrible, but even with it all cleaned up rust removal, doing this would occasionally just stick. So just needed to smooth that out. First thing I saw when I went through my box of tricks is this miniature bore hone. So put that in the drill, ran it through a bit, and yeah, smoothed it out. But being a hone, being a bit rough, it still wasn't super smooth in there. So I did my common trick, I did it when porting the head on the Volvo actually, is get a drill bit or whatever, turn the drill bit slowly, and it catches on it and twists it round, and then you've got a super flappy high speed cloth. So got that, stuffed it in there, ran it through for 10 seconds, and it is literally like a mirror fucking finish now. So I'm going to lube this up, put it all back together, say a prayer, and it either works or it don't. Well, it didn't work. That is the fuel pressure round at lap 2, as in well over 100 psi. And that's with this fully wound out, so it should be like no pressure. No leaks at least, but that's dangerous. Look, 7 bar, and that's as far as that I read, it's going to be well over 7 bar. So yeah, that's not as loud though, so that's good. So yeah, that FMU is, what's FMU stand for? Fuel metering unit. More like fucking messed up. There you go, FMU. Fucking messed up. Doesn't work. Does not work. Bollocks.